Lolly, lie. Oh, lily, loo. Ah, whoa, 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 hee ho, hee ho. Oh, we're live. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to another stream of interesting activities. So today, hope you enjoyed my little musical number there. Today, what I'm going to be doing is a little bit of Stardew Valley, which is, I mean, I guess you could infer that from the title and thumbnail. But that is what we are doing today. Another episode in the beautiful, beautiful Stardew Valley live stream. Or the series. I can't even, talk. Okay. With that being said... Oh, I forgot it was winter. With that being said... Oh, the mountain lake has been kind to me. I'd like to share my good fortune with you. Thank you for the sashimi, Linus. Anyway, the goal for this stream... Well, first thing, I want to review what we did in the last stream. We got so much iridium in the last stream that I was able to entirely and completely deck out my farm. We got farming plots for days here. As you can see here, we have, the entire farm is decked out with farming plots, which I think is very, very nice. I am definitely a fan. And what I'm going to do really quick is extend this floor a little bit. Just so you can see the stuff a little bit better. There we go. That should be good. So, yeah, as you can see, the farming area has been extended by a whole bunch. This entire bottom area. And basically, the entire farm is, done now. It's maxed out with stuff. I think the only thing I need is one more coop to go right there. And I even got a horse in the last stream, I believe, or one of the previous ones. So a lot of stuff has been happening. And pretty much the entire farm area is, filled out. We got ponds, we got lightning rods, and right here, the focus of today's stream is the slime hutch. And I don't really know much about the slime hutch. All I know is that you can put slimes in it. And they grow and they probably produce something. And that's about all I know about the slime hutch. So with that being said, I'm going to grab... Never mind. I was going to grab some stone, but it's all gone. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab some stone so I can make some more pathways. Just to, touch up things a little bit on the farm. Because... I want it to look, as pristine as possible. I'm gonna say it like that. Pristine. That's a nice word. Pristine is a very nice word. Alright, here we are. And I'm just gonna go down to 5. I'm gonna get, probably, 50. Is that even enough? I don't know how much stone I want. I know I want a lot of stone. So, yeah. Oh, of course, and this area is infested. The one thing I'm looking for is stone, and the one thing I never find is stone. It's whenever I'm looking for something, whether it be the most common thing in the entire game, it finds a way to prevent me from getting it. Which I think is kind of funny. But also very annoying. Okay. Out of the way. Out of the way. There we go. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Some actual stone. almost like that's what you come for the mine to do, to get stone. What even happened to all my other stone? Like, I'm surprised my chest has just 300 clay in it and no stone at all. I guess I used it to build the slime hutch. That's probably what it is. Hi, Jaco Cat Games. It has been a very long time. It has been a very, very long time. I've been through a hard drive crash, as I'm sure you know, but I came out of it. I'm still alive. You go to boarding school? What's boarding school versus normal school? What makes it boarding? I don't get it. Hello, Vixel. Welcome to the stream, where I'm getting stone. Definitely the most exciting activity, I will assure you. You live there? Oh. So how come you go to boarding school versus, like, normal public school? Did you do something bad? Like, I hear about in movies, like, if I mess up one more time, my dad will send me to boarding school. Did you, like, commit a crime? Move to Scotland, okay. Like, your entire family or just you? Oh, because of soccer, okay. Like a soccer boarding school? That's interesting. I definitely would not want to do a boarding school. I'm not about that life. Gotta separate the public and home life. I don't even know if I could stream if I was at boarding school. That would be really difficult. Yeah, I definitely could not do the boarding school life. For free housing. That makes sense. So, that is, like, the trade-off. You lose a bit of, like, personal freedom, I guess, because you live in the school, but, like, it's free. Free is always great. What's the deal with these random gray levels? I've never understood why they exist. Like, come on, all I want to do is get stone. Don't give me the crazy stuff. I have 100 stone. I think that might be enough. I'm gonna go back up now. I think 100 stone should be a good amount. Good day, Pam. So nice to see you. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is just turn all these bad boys into stone floors. Beautiful. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of touching up around the farm. I think a little bit of touching up is definitely in store. Maybe. The roads seem to be doing pretty good. Maybe 100 was too much. Yeah, the roads actually seem to be doing pretty nicely. Sometimes they break, though. It's a little annoying. Okay, I guess the roads are doing fine. The roads are not in need of repair, as it turns out. I do need to extend the roads up here, though. That is for sure. Oh, you got your badge back. Nice. So what, did you, like, resubscribe? Or, like, how come it wasn't there and then it's there all of a sudden? Oh, and by the way, since the hard drive crash happened, I don't have alerts turned on anymore. So it, like, won't show if you subscribe or, like, or anything like that. And I'll get that back up working soon, but until then, just be mindful. Like, used to, it would pop up on screen saying, like, blah, 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 did blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, as of now, that is not the case. It will soon be the case in the future, though. Alright, so this looks pretty good. Just adding in, like, little pathways here and there. It just randomly appeared. Oh, that's really weird. Alright, and I can put a little area here. What should go here in this little 2 by 3 space. Tiniest space. What goes right here? I don't know. Oh, the lights turned on. The lamps. Alright, so here's what the slime hutch will be. How do you make dirt paths? Dirt path. Oh, gravel path is what it's called. And it requires stone, which I conveniently don't have. Oh, speaking of, how's my... Oh, yeah, the wine's ready. Oh, let's make some money. Hold on, let me get the ancient fruit. We're gonna make some money. Oh, diamonds are ready, too. Splendid. Absolutely splendipulous. Completely forgot about the ancient fruit wine. Alright, let's make some money. I'm almost out of ancient fruit, which is kind of crazy. But then it's gonna be spring again, and ancient fruit will start to grow again. I wonder, how many ancient fruit seeds do I have? Because I'd like to have at least, probably like 200 ancient fruit seeds. That should probably be good enough to last me a year. And then in the summer, I'm gonna go big on starfruit. Like, I'm gonna go so big on starfruit when it comes summertime. That's my plans. And I guess also just get a lot of spring and spring crops and stuff like that I'm missing. I almost forgot to restock it with more ancient fruit. How could I? How could I forget such a vital detail? Such a vital component of the money-making process. And I don't even think I brought enough ancient fruit. I think I'm gonna need more. But I'm too lazy to get more, so we're just gonna go with a limited batch this time. Yeah, looks like I got like 10 too little, but that's okay. It's only 10. Alright, box, there you go. 125 ancient fruit wine. Let's make some money. Move, Shane. Move your big butt. Move! Alright, too bad I go. Okay. Almost $300,000. That's what I like to see. And we're halfway through winter now. Oh! Bumped into Robin this morning. She told me you've got a new slime hutch. Not bad. I was into slime breeding at your age. It's a great hobby, but dangerous. Ooh. How'd you think I lost this eye? To a slime? Oh, just kidding. Okay, I thought so. Here, I've got something for you. You received a green slime egg. It's a slime egg. You can place that inside a slime incubator and hatch it. Now, take a good hard look at the egg. Next time you're out slime hunting, keep your eyes peeled for more eggs. They're rare, but slimes do drop them from time to time. Collect eggs from different slimes to add some variety to your herd. Okay, this is interesting. And I have one more mail. Traveling merchant. Okay. Cool. I think it's funny how I moved to America, then lived there for less than a year, then moved to Scotland. By the way, you can now say you know someone who does professional sports. That's really cool, professional sports. Yeah, I can now say that. Okay, yeah, this looks like a slime hutch. So what do I do? Do I just, like... It looks like a castle. Holy cow. This looks a lot more grand than I thought it would look. Okay, so what do I do? Do I just put the egg in here? Oh, I have to put it in the incubator. Okay. And I guess it just chills there for how many ever days now? Cool. Kind of creepy, but kind of cool. So, now, while we wait on the slime egg, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with my time? Something I do want to work on. Something I do want to work on is... What do I want to do? I know I want to get beehives in time for spring, and we're halfway through winter, so 14 more days to get beehives. And that's what I'm gonna do in this little... Here, let me drink a coffee. That's what I'm gonna do in this little row over here. Get beehives. Hello, Zahir X Gaming. Yeah, right here. Oh, in this little pocket, it's gonna be all beehives. But I just have to get beehives first, which might be a little bit of an issue. What is the recipe again? Let me remind myself. Okay. Come on. Tell me. Okay. That's not that bad. 1 maple syrup, 1 iron bar, 8 coal, and 40 wood. So I'm sure I'm good on the wood part. Yeah, I'm so good on the wood part. On the coal part, that might be a bit of an issue. Whatever 17 divided by, what 177 divided by 8 is. That's probably like 20. A little more than 20. 20, 168, 21. About 22 bee houses can be made. Then iron. And iron might be an actual issue. And the reason I say that is because, well, I don't have that much iron to my name. I mean, I have some iron, but I don't have a ton of iron to my name, unfortunately. And I think I tried to do iron mining in the last stream and was very unsuccessful. I can try again today, though. See how it goes. Holy cow, I'm amassing the collection of diamonds. Alright. I'm gonna put away all this stuff. These random assorted materials that I have. Why do I even have sashimi? I'm just gonna eat that. I think Linus gave that to me. I'm never gonna use it. Sashimi's pretty worthless. Okay, I'm trying to, like, be organized here. Do my due diligence, as they say. Trying to do my due diligence. Okay, that should be good. I don't know why there are cheese presses in my mining material chest, but there are, and I'm not going to question it. So today is going to be an iron day, basically. How ironic. Yeah. So today is going to be an iron day, basically. So off to the mines I go to get some iron. And the goal, I'm going to put the goal today at 20 iron. I mean, that's how much I need, really. Because that's how many coal I have. So we're going to go to 60. The goal is... Wait, what's the goal? The goal is 10 iron bars, which is 50 iron ore. Okay? So 50 iron ore is the goal today. There's our first bit of iron. Love to see it. And an emerald, why not? It's always nice to have an emerald. And I really like these dust guys, because they can give you a ton of coal. Okay, we do have some iron over here. I was getting really unlucky with iron in the past stream. Fun fact, they don't say hello in Scotland, they say heya. Well, some people say heya in the United States. It's not a totally uncommon thing. Oh, diamond. Nice. Not like I already have, like, 11 diamond. Oh, a slime egg. Nice. I thought the guy said it was rare. That was like the second slime I've killed today. I've already gotten a slime egg. Well, that's fantastic. I guess that gives you an incentive to go out killing more slimes now. Get a slime egg of every kind. Alright, any iron though? That's the $1 million question. Lots of coal, which I appreciate, but iron. I'm not seeing a whole lot of that. Unfortunately. Very unfortunately. Is it just me or... Today has felt like such a Friday. It's only Thursday, though. But I don't know. I've been like one day ahead this entire week. Sometimes I'm a day behind. I think it's Monday when it's Tuesday. I think it's Thursday when it's Friday. Today, I'm one day ahead. I've been that way all week. I guess I just can't wait till the weekend. Lots of crazy stuff is about to happen in my life. Yeah. Oh, more diamond. That's fantastic. But, on Saturday, oh, I haven't told you guys about this yet. But, you know how I'm in this, competition. It's called Battle of the Books. It's a thing my school does. I think the Odd Ones Out did a video on it, too. But basically, we won our school-wide competition. And then we won, like, the county-wide competition. I think I told you guys about that. And then while I was at New York, unfortunately, I couldn't go because I was at New York. But my team won the regional competition, too. So this Saturday, we're going on to the statewide competition, which is, like, the final. There's no such thing as a national competition. So, state competition is, like, the final one. And we're doing that this Saturday, which is gonna be very interesting. Oh, you should totally do, Battle of the Books, Vixel. It's a lot of fun. It sounds kind of nerdy, and that's because it is, but it's also kind of fun. Anyway, yeah, we're doing the state competition for that on Saturday. Then on Sunday, I think I'm gonna see Return of the Jedi in theaters, which isn't really a big life-shattering thing, but it's kind of cool. Because I think for, like, the May 4th 40th anniversary or something, sub-anniversary, Star Wars is showing Return of the Jedi in theaters. So I'm gonna see that on Sunday. And then on Monday, I get to take my very first AP exam, which is gonna be so fun. So much fun. AP, US Government, and Politics. There are so many dust bunnies. And on Sunday, after I watch Return of the Jedi, I'm gonna go home. And I'm going to study so much on Sunday. So much. Because the thing with AP exams, you get graded on a scale 1, 2, 3, or 5. For those of you that haven't been in an AP class. Or that are from outside of the US. Either you get a 1, 2, a 3, or a 5. A 5 is the most desirable. A 1 means you're stupid. And the thing with AP exams is they send your scores to colleges. So a college can see your score, and if they see that you got a 1, they're like, oh, this person is stupid. But if you send your score to the college, and they see that you got a 5 or like a 4, then they're gonna be like, oh my goodness, this person's really good, we should accept them. And then the thing with that is, like, the better you do on your AP exam, the more likely you go to college, like, a good college. And you can even, like, skip classes in college if you do good enough on the AP exam, which saves a lot of money in, like, student loan. So it's actually kind of like a big deal. Yeah. So for AP, US Government, and Politics, it's not that hard of a class. It's just a lot of memorizing. That's really all it is. A ton of memorizing. But I mean, that's really what school is, isn't it? How are we doing in iron? 36. Trying to hit the goal of 50. I think we'll hit it. But I'm gonna do so much review on Sunday. The things I'm, like, tripped up on are, like, civil liberties versus civil rights. Like, that's a thing that I've been, like, struggling with. I didn't even know that there was a difference. But apparently there is a difference between civil liberties and civil rights. So if you don't mind really quick, I'm going to educate my YouTube viewers on the difference between civil liberties and civil rights. So civil liberties are things that you're allowed to do. Liberty as in like freedom. So liberties, civil liberties are things you're allowed to do. So like, for example, the First Amendment, the free speech clause. An example of a civil liberty is freedom of speech. I can talk about whatever I want, basically. With some exceptions, but I can basically talk about whatever I want. That is a civil liberty. Or like, the right to remain silent, like the Fifth Amendment. I plead the Fifth. That is another civil liberty. You can plead the Fifth. That is a freedom that you have. And freedom and liberty are basically like the same word. But a civil right is like, it protects you. So a civil liberty is a thing you can do, but a civil right is not something you do, it's something that protects you. So a civil right is like the right to not be discriminated against, for example. Or another civil right would be, I mean, that's pretty all-encompassing, not be discriminated. What are other civil rights? I guess you could break it up into categories, like, being hired for a job based on your experience, not based on certain attributes of you, like race, color, gender. And then you could split it like college admissions, job applications, all those are civil rights. Protections, like the Civil Rights Act, like, you can't deny service to someone on the basis of, like, race or color. That is a civil right. It protects you from discrimination, whereas a civil liberty is something you can do. And I had no idea that there was a difference. I thought that civil liberty and civil right were synonyms. Yeah, but they're not. And then another thing that I'm gonna have to really study on Monday, or before Monday. For my test on Monday, I'm gonna really have to study the informal and formal powers of the executive. Which is basically the informal. I need to do a lot more studying on the executive branch. Now, the executive branch is a lot more, like, in-depth than you think it is. Like, the president has informal and formal powers. And there's quite a bit of them. And I'm gonna educate my viewers. Okay, so if you watch the Striker live streams, you are more educated than the average American. Which isn't hard to beat. It's not hard to be more educated than the average American. But, regardless, like, the formal powers of the president are things that are listed in the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution, which is all about the executive branch. So things specifically listed there are formal powers of the president. So, for example, the president can veto law. He could do a pocket veto, he can do a regular veto, he can't do a line item veto, though. That is not allowed. And a line item veto is basically where you veto some parts of the law, but not all parts. That's not allowed. Oh, hello, Manny Animations. I'm back from being arrested. Hi, Buster B. Yeah, currently I'm talking about the formal and informal powers of the executive. So, formal powers of the president. Vetoes. Vetoes as in line item veto and regular veto, but not line item veto. Pocket veto and regular veto are things the president can do. Line item veto is not allowed, okay? Good, we got that cleared up. Another formal power of the president is pardoning people for any reason or granting reprieves. And a reprieve basically lessens the sentence, whereas a pardon gets rid of it. And, yeah, the president is allowed to do that for whatever reason they want. It could be that they were buddies in high school, or it could be that the president disagrees with the reason that the person was charged. But for any reason, the president can grant an unlimited amount of pardons or reprieves. That is another formal power. And, oh dear, here come the bats. And then another formal power of the president is commander-in-chief of the military. Which gives him some control over the military, not a lot, because of the War Powers Act of 1973, but the president has some control over the military as commander-in-chief. He can do stuff like, he can send the United States troops out to any country, for any conflict, for any reason, But he has to notify Congress 48 hours within doing so. And if Congress says that the troops have to come home, then the troops have to come home. But the president is allowed to send the troops out to places. But if Congress says they have to come home, they have to come home, basically. That's what the president can do as chief of the military. He can also launch nukes and stuff. So if Biden wanted, he could say, I'm gonna launch all of our nukes to Russia right now. He could do that if he wanted to. He's probably not going to, because that's like a tactical blunder, but he could. What else? The president nominates judicial justices. So like to the Supreme Court, the president nominates, and that has to be confirmed by, I believe, the Senate. Just the Senate, not the House. So the president will nominate a judge that he or she thinks would be fit to serve on a district court, an appellate court, the Supreme Court. And then the Senate, a simple majority, 50% of the Senate, has to confirm that. But the president is allowed to formal power, appoint judicial nominees. And he can also appoint ambassadors. What else? I know there's one more formal power that I'm forgetting. I'm trying to remember all of them. One more formal power. Thank you for the 35 stone, George. I really do appreciate it. Right, we're up to 90 iron ore. That's pretty good. There's one more formal power that I can't think of right now. What did I say? There's, okay, vetoing, pardoning, appointing, commander-in-chief. There's one more. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. See, this is why I have to study. Formal powers of the president. And let's go ahead and smelt all this iron. Formal powers of the president. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Formal powers of the president. Maybe I got all of them. Oh, make treaties. That's the one. That's the one that I forgot about. You fixed the healthcare system. I'm so proud of you, Manny Animations. But yeah, the president can create treaties. He has the power to do that formally. The only thing is that treaties have to be confirmed by 50% of the Senate, I think. I should probably look that up. What percent of the Senate has to confirm treaties? Oh, 2/3. Okay. So, the president can make treaties, but 2/3 of the Senate has to confirm the treaties. Okay. 2/3. How's my slime bag doing? It's just chilling. Okay. Two-thirds of the Senate. Okay. I'm gonna check on my iron. I might be able to... I'm just gonna make some bee houses right now, once all this iron's ready. So those are the formal powers of the president. The 5 formal powers, which I will quickly list. Make treaties. Veto. Pardon. Nominate. And... what is it? What is it? Dang it. Okay, let's start again. Nominate. Pardon. Veto. Make treaties. And... oh no. This is bad. This is why I need to review this stuff. Formal powers. Oh, Commander-in-Chief. That's what it is. Those are the 5 formal powers of the president. Listed explicitly in Article 2 of the Constitution. Alright, let's make some bee houses. Iridium can give you superpowers. Trust me, I'm FDA approved. I found this out yesterday. Well, thank you. Thank you for telling me about this. I love the superpowers. Be like Superman. Okay. 5 formal powers of the president. Rapid fire. Pardon. Appoint. Veto. Commander-in-chief. And make treaties. There we go. I got all 5 of them. Those are the 5 formal powers of the president. And then it's confusing, because there's also informal powers, which is, like, really confusing. Not only do you have to remember the 5 formal powers, no, you have to remember the 5 informal powers. Which I will try to remember. There is the power of the president to persuade. That is informal. Informal is basically the things the president can do that's not listed in the Constitution. So the president can't persuade. So the president, I should say he or she, the president can call a speech or have a rally and basically exert influence over the American people. That is an informal power of the president. The president can also have an executive order. That's another informal power of the president. Executive order is... it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. But the president can make an executive order, which is basically like an order. Like, I order you to do this. And it carries the force of law. And it can be overturned by the Supreme Court or by Congress. But it's basically a way to make a law without making a law. Okay, and it's really confusing, but the president is allowed to do that. Informally, of course. Which means it's not listed anywhere in the Constitution. So that's 2 informal powers. There is persuasion, executive order, executive agreement. Which is really confusing because there's also executive orders, and I get them confused all the time. But an executive agreement is where a president can make an agreement with the leader of another nation. And what's confusing about that is I get that confused with treaties, which is a formal power of the president. They're very confusing. Okay, I'm gonna get my coal really quick, and I'm just gonna make some beehives. Where is my coal? Here it is. But an executive agreement is, it's an agreement that the president makes with a leader of another nation. I don't have that much maple syrup. And basically, in the agreement, it does not have to be confirmed by the Senate. It doesn't have to be confirmed by anyone. It's entirely between the president and the leader of the other nation, basically. And what the agreement does, it can be anything, really. But the thing about executive agreements, the difference between a treaty and an executive agreement, is that an executive agreement only lasts while the president is in power, while a treaty always lasts unless it's overturned. That's the basic difference. And those are the lovely beehives, which won't do anything until spring, but they look lovely. They look very lovely, I like to think. And might as well get more. Might as well get more. How many more can I fit? That is the question of the day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, cool. 11, which means I need 6 more iron bars, which translates to 30 iron ore. I need 1 more maple syrup, and I need a lot more coal, as it turns out. But those are the beehives. Don't they look awesome? A great addition to the farm, I'd like to think. Yeah, but the thing with an executive agreement is that it only lasts while the president is in power. So that could be 4 years, could be 8 years, at maximum 8 years. And then it goes away when the president's no longer in power. Whereas a treaty is, like, binding. A treaty stays forever until someone gets out of it. Like, unless it gets overturned or the treaty gets, like, dissolved. Then, obviously, the treaty is no longer in effect. But a treaty is a lot more permanent than an executive order, but it requires congressional approval. Well, Senate approval. So, yeah. But it's really confusing, because I get that mixed up with executive agreements all the time. So, that's 3 informal powers. Executive agreement, executive order, persuasion. There's one more. There's one more informal power that I can't think of right now, but I know it exists. Alright, we're gonna go to the mines, and I'm gonna look up informal powers of the president. To the mines! Okay, informal powers of the president. Yep, negotiating executive agreements. Yep. Persuasion. What else? Persuasion. Executive orders. Yep. Signing statements. Okay. Well, that kind of goes with his ability to persuade. His or her. I keep saying his. His or her. keeps going with the president's ability to persuade. But I guess a signing statement. And a signing statement is basically when a president gives their opinion about a law when they sign it into law. So, like, this is how the executive branch will execute this law. That's basically what a signing statement is. And, I mean, I guess it's an informal, but I would group that with the power of persuasion. That's what I would group that with. Because that's what he's doing. Or, that's what the president is doing. I don't know why I keep saying he. But that's what the president is doing in a signing statement. Oh my god, it's a flying skull! Scatamouche, scatamouche. I hate these random cavern levels. So those are the 3 informal powers that I mentioned. And there's one more. What is it? What is it? Establish a cabinet. That's what it is. Oh, no way! If it isn't Nick on Fire, welcome to my Fire stream where I'm also talking about advanced placement, AP government. Wait. Advanced placement, U.S. government and politics final exam, May 1st, 2023. So glad you could join me on this beautiful stream. So yes, the 4th informal power of the president is the cabinet. So the president's cabinet is made up of 15 departments, and I cannot name you all of the departments, but that's okay because I'm not required to for the exam. But there's like the department of, oh, what the heck? The slime is like having a seizure. Okay. No way, I can't wait. I know, right? I'm so gonna get a 5. But yeah, did you know that, like, 87% of Striker viewers are more educated than the general public? That is actually factual information. Because I talk about things like this. So the cabinet is made up of 15 departments, such as the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Defense, the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture, stuff like that. There's 15 of them. And I cannot tell you all of them, but that's okay, because I don't need to. Below average. No, absolutely not. I meant above average. No other streamer will discuss with you the formal and informal powers of the executive. But yeah, funny enough, it's not listed anywhere in the Constitution that the president has a cabinet. That is entirely an informal power. And the thing about the cabinet that differs the cabinet from other executive agencies like NASA or the Federal Trade Commission or the Department of Transportation is a cabinet position. But the thing that differentiates the cabinet from NASA, which is an executive agency, or the Federal Trade Commission or the CDC, is that a president can appoint members of cabinets that he likes or that the president likes. And members of the cabinet are not, I'm pretty sure, not subject to congressional approval. So that's a cool thing, because it's the president's own thing. Everyone in the cabinet serves for the president. So the thing about the cabinet is that they all work for the president. They don't really work for the government, they work for the president. And what that means is that the president, not the government, but the president is their boss, which means that the president can fire them for whatever reason. Maybe the president was just having a bad day. Well, the president could go ahead and fire Joe Schmo, head of the Department of Transportation, if the president so desires. And that's the thing about the cabinet. And the cabinet basically informs the president about stuff and carries out stuff. So let's say Congress just passed a new law about transportation, like an automobile regulation. So that would go to the president, because the president is the chief executive and he has to execute the laws. And he would refer that to one of his cabinet departments, such as the Department of Transportation, which is, what else is he going to refer it to? The Department of Transportation. I hate these random, why? What's the purpose of these gray levels? I don't get it. Yeah, but then the Department of Transportation would basically work with the president to kind of visualize how Congress's regulation would be implemented in actuality. So yeah, Judicial activism versus restraint. I know, right? Okay. Get out of my way. Random skull thing. Yeah, I'm just talking about the stuff that I need help with. We did our practice test. I did pretty good on it, but there are some stuff that I need, like, help with, such as the informal powers of the executive. But yeah, cabinet. That is another informal power of the president, and that are the those are the four, four informal powers of the president. Cool. So, let's talk about all 9 powers of the president, okay? Just a quick overview. So the 5 formal powers of the president are, pardoning, appointing justices, making treaties, and this is where I'm drawing a blank. Vetoing, that's 4. And what's the 5th? Well, this is bad. Okay, from the top. Veto, that's 1. Appoint, that's 2. Oh, okay. So, veto, appoint, pardon. Shoot. Veto, appoint, pardon, make treaties, and chief executive. That's what it is. Those are the 5 formal powers of the president listed in the Constitution, Article 2. Okay, cool. And the 4 informal powers of the president are persuasion. That's 1. Oh boy. Having a cabinet, that's 2. See, this is why I need to review this stuff. Okay, so 1 informal power is having a cabinet. 2nd informal power is persuasion. 3rd informal power is executive order. And 4th informal power is executive agreement. Boom! Drop the mic. Those are the 9 powers of the president. I'm so genius. So yeah, that is something that I'm struggling on, but something that I'm getting better at, which I will hopefully be better at on Monday, May 1st, the AP exam day. So that's that. I could ramble on more about government. Blah, 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 government. But I shall not. Oh, darn, the government. I hate our gosh darn corrupt government. Government. Article 5. I actually don't know what Article 5 of the is it? That's bad. I know Article 1 is the legislative branch. Article 2 is the executive branch. Article 3 is the judicial branch. I think that's all we need to know. I don't know what Article 5 is, though. I know Article 7 is amendment process. Or no, Article 7 is ratifying the Constitution. Articles of the Constitution. Let's take a look. Article 6 is supremacy. Article 5, amendments. Okay, so Article 5 is amendment process. So Article 7 is ratifying the Constitution. Article 5 is how to amend the Constitution. Article 1 is legislative. Article 2 is executive. Article 3 is judicial. Fun. Now that begs the question, what is 4? 6 is the supremacy clause. Yep. Article 4 of the Constitution is states' powers. Okay. That's kind of weird. Deals with states. Okay. So states' powers. I think the only ones we need to know for the government exam are Article 1, 2, and 3. So I should be covered. My bases are covered. Oh, and then we need to know all the amendments. Let's do that. Let's have a little ranting session about... Oh my gosh, it's 1:30 a.m. Okay, I should probably get to bed. We should have a little come to Jesus moment about the amendments of the Constitution. There are 27 beautiful amendments to our Constitution. And I know probably all of them. Probably. Probably. Which isn't that good. I should know all of them, but I don't. So, Amendment 1. Freedom of speech. Amendment 1 is a lot of things. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of... There's 5 things that are in the First Amendment. Good day, Shane. Okay. I'm just gonna go back to the mines today and do some more mining. It's kind of mindless. Raps, exactly. RAPPS. So, it stands for something, which I can't think of now. Religion, assembly, press, petition, speech. That's what it is. Those are the 5 things in the... So, freedom of religion, you can believe in whatever religion you want, even if it's Scientology. Assembly, you can be a member of whatever organization you like, whether it be the Boy Scouts of America or the KKK. Yeah, that's the freedom of assembly. Press. Press means you can make any publication about anything. And then petition means you can petition the government for a redress of grievances. Which means you can just, like, I don't know, I don't like this law, let's get it changed. And speech is very broad. I'd say speech basically encompasses petition and press, too. But speech, with some exceptions, such as Shink versus United States, such as New York Times versus Sullivan, with some exceptions, you can basically say whatever you want. And the exceptions to freedom of speech are if it has a clear and present danger, which was established in Shink versus United States. You can't, like, say, I am going to rob this bank at 3:32 a.m. on Tuesday afternoon. Which doesn't even make sense, because I said a.m. and afternoon. But, yeah, if you are about to commit lawless action, and you say you're about to do that, then that is not allowed. And then if you slander someone, like, Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, you can't slander someone. And you can't do libel, or libel. Libel is basically the written version of slander. It's when the press slanders someone. So that's, like, what happened Fox News and Dominion voting machines. Fox News was, like, talking about, election fraud, and they accused Dominion voting machines of, like, rigging the election. And that was considered libel because it ruined the reputation of that voting company. So they sued and they won. But those are the restrictions on speech. And then there's also another, like, 6th secret provision of the First Amendment, which is symbolic speech, which is, like, Tinker versus Des Moines, which was a court case which said that symbolic speech exists. And symbolic speech is basically speech without, like, actually opening your mouth. So, for example, if I want to wear a shirt to protest the Ukraine war, or, like, a shirt to protest Russia, I can do that. Like, a shirt that has a big no-no sign over the Russian flag, I can do that, because that's symbolic speech. My shirt is a symbol. And what happened in Tinker versus Des Moines is a bunch of students wore these armbands to school, which protested the Vietnam War, and they got suspended for it, for whatever reason. So their parents sued the school to overturn their suspension, and they won, because the shirts were, or the armbands were symbolic speech. Cool. That's the First Amendment. Second Amendment is a beautiful, beautiful amendment, according to some people, and a very bad amendment, according to other people. Really depends on who you ask. It's the right to go pew-pew. Well, not the right to go pew-pew. It's the right to own something which can go pew-pew. Yeah, basically. No need to further elaborate. That's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Third Amendment is no quartering of soldiers, which isn't really a thing that happens anymore, but in the 1770s when the Constitution... Well, in the 1790s when the Constitution was made... that was, like, a real fear. It's not really a thing that happens anymore, but, basically, no quartering means you, like, basically, what happened, part of the intolerable acts that Britain did to the colonies was that, if a soldier of the British Army wanted to sleep in your house, then you, by law, had to have the soldier sleep in your house, and you had to feed the soldier, and if you didn't, your family was going to jail. Oh, no way, welcome back, Vixel. We're talking about the amendments of the United States Constitution. But, yeah, Amendment 3, pretty self-explanatory, like Amendment 2, no quartering of soldiers. Amendment 4 is no illegal searches or seizures. No illegal searches or seizures basically means, well, it's self-explanatory. So that is like, that's why you should never invite the police into your house. Because the police can't legally search your house unless you either give them permission or they have a search warrant attained by a judge. That's basically that. And there's this Supreme Court case called Mapp versus Ohio, where Mapp is like the person's last name. She was accused of a crime. But the thing was, they accused her of a crime using illegally gathered evidence. The police searched her house without getting a warrant. So the police broke the law to get the evidence. And the Supreme Court ruled that Mapp was not guilty. That she didn't have to go to jail because police got the evidence illegally. And that created the exclusionary clause, which basically says evidence gathered illegally can't be used to incriminate you. So if the police search your house without a warrant and find something bad, well, you're off the hook because they got it illegally. Cool. So that's the Fourth Amendment. Pretty simple. There is one provision of the Fourth Amendment. It's like probable cause, which means if a police officer has probable cause, they can search your house. Or they can search anything. It's not just a house. It can be a house, a car, a bag, anything like that. But probable cause means something like there's a good reason for them to. Okay? So a good reason could be like you got accused of kidnapping and they come to your house and they hear someone screaming from inside. That's probable cause. Because you can reasonably assume that someone is in there that needs help. Okay? So that's pretty self-explanatory. Another example of probable cause is like at an airport. It's probable cause for them to search your bags because, well, number one, you give them permission to because you put your bag there. They're not requiring you to. But to get on the plane, you have to put your bag there to get it checked. And the probable cause there is that to prevent a terrorist attack. So that's what probable cause is, a little provision of the Fourth Amendment. But essentially, no illegal searches or seizures. There's always an asterisk in every part of the U.S. government, but that's the Fourth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment. I plead the Fifth. That's where it came from. It's a bunch of things. It's like due process. That's like the biggie. Which is also easily confused with the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment and the Fifth Amendment are really similar. But the Fifth Amendment has due process, which is no one shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And basically what that means is you can't put me in jail unless I deserve to be in jail, basically. You can't just find Joe Schmo on the street and you have a bad day, so you put him in jail. You know, nothing like that. So the thing with that is you can have the right to not incriminate yourself. So if you ever hear someone say, I plead the Fifth, that means they basically refuse to answer a question. So if someone is questioning them, like in court or like a police interrogation, a way down has appeared. They can basically say, I refuse to answer. I plead the Fifth. And that can't be used against them. Whereas if they say no, or if they say yes, then that can be used against them. And it can be used for them too, but it can also be used against them. But the best thing to do is just to say, I plead the Fifth. Because if you lie, then that's perjury, and that's a crime. So, plead the Fifth. That's always a great thing to do. You never have to speak to the police. You can always keep your trap shut, and that is usually the best thing to do. The Sixth Amendment is the right to a speedy and fair public trial by an impartial jury of your peers. And basically what that means, and it's also habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is something that basically says that you have to go to a judge. You can't just be kept in jail for no reason, okay? You can only be kept in jail if you deserve to be in jail. You can only be kept in jail if you're convicted. So, the police can't pick you up on the street and put you in jail for 5 years unless you are convicted of an actual crime. And what the police can do is they can put you in jail for like, I think it's like up to a week. while you await your trial. But you can pay bail to get out. And when you pay bail, you basically get out of jail until your trial. And then, of course, if you're convicted at your trial, you have to go back. If you're not, then you're free. But habeas corpus is basically like, don't be in jail for like a year while you wait for your trial to happen. So, you're guaranteed a speedy trial, you're guaranteed a fair trial, you're guaranteed a public trial, stuff like that. And another thing about the 6th Amendment is that you're guaranteed the right to legal counsel, which means, basically creates public defenders. So if you can't afford a lawyer to help you argue your case, you'll get a public defender, which is paid for by taxpayers, essentially. And a Supreme Court case called Gideon versus Wainwright basically affirmed that, where this dude named Clarence Earl Gideon couldn't afford a lawyer, and so he was forced to represent himself, and he was kind of stupid, so he got convicted. But while in prison, he read these law books, and he was like, wait a second, Florida denied my rights by not letting me have a lawyer. So he sued, and he won, and now that basically reaffirmed the fact that public defenders have to be given when a defendant can't afford one. And that's only for defendants. Public defenders aren't given for the prosecution, for plaintiffs. There's no such thing as a public prosecutor, only a public defender. And I believe that's only in criminal cases, not in civil cases. And I'm going to go down a separate rabbit hole. Criminal cases are cases where jail time is at stake. Someone has committed a crime. A civil case is where, like, I'm suing you for money. Okay? So that's the basic difference. Criminal case, jail time is at stake. Civil case, money is at stake. And only in criminal cases, the defendant is allowed to have a public defender if the defendant cannot afford one. If the defendant cannot afford a lawyer. So, the 7th Amendment. What did the 7th Amendment do? I actually don't know. I actually don't know. That's bad. Oh, bye, Vixel. Have fun checking iMessage. Okay. Definitely, I will have fun checking. I don't think we have to know the 7th Amendment. We don't have, we have to know, like, all the amendments minus 5. 7th Amendment. Oh, that's really weird. Okay. The 7th Amendment basically says, in a civil case, or a criminal case, when the value exceeds $20, there has to be a jury. And I understand why we don't have to, there's some amendments that we don't have to know for government. The 7th Amendment is one of the amendments that we don't have to know. But basically, if a court case is worth more than $20, so if you stole a Hershey bar, this wouldn't apply. But if you stole 20 Hershey bars, then this would apply. But basically, when the dollar value in a court case exceeds $20, then there is a jury, basically. So a jury is in all cases... Ooh! A prismatic shard. Nice. A jury is in all cases where the dollar amount affects is more than $20 at stake. And that's basically all cases. So it's kind of a redundant law. But you have to think, back in the 1790s, $20 was a lot more than $20 is today. Actually, I'm going to look that up. Hello, 11. Uh-oh. Hold on, let's look that up. $20 and 1790 to today. $656. So, back then in 1790 when the 7th Amendment was created, it was basically $650. If your case was worth more than $650, then you get a jury. And which is still not a lot. But $20 because of inflation. So that's a really, like, stupid amendment. I mean, it made more sense back then, but even then, didn't make a lot of sense. Alright, back home I go. To do more mining, I work in the mines from sunset to sundown, or wait. Yeah, sunrise to sunset. There we go. But that's what the 7th Amendment, and it's kind of a redundant amendment that I don't really need to know. But hey, it's there. 8th Amendment, no cruel or unusual punishment. Which is actually really interesting. Because, ooh, a male slime is hatched. Fantastic. But no cruel or unusual punishment. Let's see, what's this? Greetings from Calico Desert. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Tom Kha soup. Into the garbage. So, no cruel or unusual punishment and no excessive bail. So, I was talking about bail back with the 6th Amendment. But basically, bail is when, let's say, you are accused of a crime. So, the police take, and I think this is only in violent crime. You're accused of a crime, so you go to jail, okay? Like, the police arrest you, and you're kept in jail. And you are in jail awaiting your trial, okay? But the thing about that is that the 6th Amendment says that you can't be waiting forever in jail awaiting a trial. And the 8th Amendment says no excessive bail. Now, let's say you got arrested and you're being held in jail for a violent crime, okay? Well, let's say it's 3 weeks until your court date, okay? Just imagine with me. 3 weeks until your court date. Well, the judge, or not the judge, but someone, I don't know who, someone sets your bail. And if you pay the bail to the police department, then you get released. And you basically get out of jail until your trial. And then they determine if you go back to jail or not. But that's what bail is. And the 8th Amendment protects against excessive bail. So, like, $2 trillion. So, if you pay the reasonable price of $2 trillion as your bail, then you will get out of jail. That's not okay. According to the 8th Amendment. Beautiful. And then another provision of the 8th Amendment is no cruel or unusual punishment, which is interesting because the death penalty, some people are arguing that the 8th Amendment, no cruel or unusual punishment, some people argue that the death penalty is cruel and unusual punishment, which I would actually agree. I'm against the death penalty. Anyway, politics aside, that's what the 8th Amendment protects, so no torture, basically, which is actually interesting, because I heard that the United States tortured, like, people involved with, like, 9/11. I don't know if that was a rumor or not, but I heard that happened, which could be considered cruel or unusual punishment. Very highly illegal. No way, 5 months! Imagine if you get fired your first season. That would never happen. I highly doubt. You're a soccer player. I don't know much about soccer, but yeah. I feel like you are the type of person that would do good in soccer. I just get that vibe from you. But yeah, so basically no torture, no cruel interrogation techniques. Like, no slamming your head against the wall, or, like, breaking, or, you know, stuff like that. The interrogation technique, like Batman. Don't be like Batman, okay? Don't be like Batman and the Riddler, because that is definitely not protected under the 8th Amendment, okay? So, no cruel or unusual punishment, no excessive bail. Cool. The 9th Amendment. The 9th and 10th are pretty hard to explain, but I do need to know them. So, the 9th Amendment basically says, all powers that are not regulated by the government, or no, all rights that are not regulated by the government belong to the people. Cool. So what does that mean? So that means, basically, have you ever, like, as a kid, been like, I don't know if my mom will let me do this, or I don't know if my dad will let me do this. Well, she didn't say I could, but she didn't say I couldn't. That's kind of like what this is. So if the government doesn't say that you can't do something, if the government doesn't explicitly say that this is not allowed, then you can do it. And that's kind of like no duh, but I guess they just need to clear that up. If the government doesn't say, state or federal, doesn't matter, if the government doesn't prohibit you from doing something, you could do it. That's what the 9th Amendment is. This might put you to sleep like a documentary. Well, it's, like I said, 94%, or I keep changing the percents. Striker viewers are more educated than any other viewer. Keep watching. Generate the watch time. But yeah, that's the 9th Amendment. And then the 10th Amendment is like the same thing, but for states, essentially. So, anything that the federal government doesn't regulate is fair game for the states to regulate. So, what does that mean? Like, let's get an example. Well, marijuana. Marijuana. This deals with an idea that's very essential to the AP government curriculum called federalism, which is basically when different states have different laws about the same thing. So, abortion would be an example of this. The 10th Amendment. The federal government, as of the Supreme Court case Dobbs versus Jackson, the federal government does not regulate abortion. It's left up to every state to decide for itself as a result of the 10th Amendment. Okay? So since the federal government doesn't say anything about abortion, then every state is free to decide for itself. Or stuff like the drinking age. I think the federal government actually does say stuff about that. But how about marijuana? The federal government doesn't say anything about marijuana, so every state has its own laws about marijuana thanks to the 10th Amendment. Cool. Florida is being strict about abortion. Yeah, they're a really Republican state. Republicans are anti-abortion. Politics. Gotta love politics. Now we are talking about weed. Well, a cool, interesting thing about the 10th Amendment and federalism, where I live, North Carolina, marijuana is very illegal. You will go to jail if you get caught marijuana. Either that or you'll get fined. I don't know. Probably both. But when I went to New York, where marijuana is legal, there are weed shops everywhere. There were so many marijuana shops. So that's an interesting thing about federalism. Depending on what state you're in, there are different laws. Thanks to the beautiful 10th Amendment. Cool. The 11th Amendment. I don't know. But that's okay, because the 11th Amendment is one of the amendments that I don't have to know. Yeah, that's right. Some amendments I don't have to know. Like, I know I don't have to know the 11th, but for the sake of knowing it, what is it? 11th Amendment. Oh, yeah. So basically, a person from one state can't sue another state that they don't live in. Which sounds kind of confusing, but, like, think of it this way. A person from Rhode Island can't sue the state of Mississippi, okay? Or the state of Florida can't sue someone who lives in New York, okay? The state of Florida can only sue someone that lives in Florida. Someone that lives in Florida can only sue Florida, if that makes sense. If you live in multiple states, then you can sue more people. That's kind of a interesting loophole. So if you have a house in every single state, you can sue every state government if you so choose. Kind of cool. But for example, I can't sue South Carolina. I can't sue the state of South Carolina. Now, I can sue a person that's from South Carolina, but I can't sue the South Carolinian government. And the South Carolinian government can't sue me because I don't reside in that state. Okay? I don't believe I need to know the 12th Amendment either. But for the sake of knowing it, 12th Amendment. Oh, that's actually something I do need to know. Okay. So, if there is a tie in the Electoral College, according to my calculations, Striker DS viewers are exactly 9,500,000.389% more educated than other people. I would agree with that. So, the 12th Amendment. That is actually one I do need to know, and I'm glad I looked that up, because I totally forgot about that. So, the Electoral College. There are 535 Electoral College votes made up of... No, 538 Electoral College votes made up of all 100... Okay, we're gonna go on a side tangent here. The Electoral College is how the president's chosen. Electoral College voters are distributed among the states based on population, and every state gets at least 2. And how it works is that how they tally the final amount of Electoral College voters is 100 senators plus 435 House of Representatives members plus 3 extra for Washington, D.C. And that's how they reach the number of 538 Electoral College people. Now, the thing with that is that it's an even number, which means 538 divided by 2, let's say Joe Biden gets 269 electoral college votes, and Donald Trump gets 269 electoral college votes. Uh-oh, we have a tie. Okay, so what happens in that situation? Well, according to the 12th Amendment of the United States Constitution, the House of Representatives will decide. Just the House of Representatives. They will resolve the conflict. And basically everyone in the House of Representatives, all the House members, all 435 of them, will vote for a presidential candidate. And that'll break the tie. Kinda cool. So that is actually an amendment that I do need to know. The 13th Amendment. I hope you all know the 13th Amendment. No slavery, essentially. No, slavery bad. Okay, that's the 13th Amendment. Moving on. 14th Amendment. It sounds simple. The 14th Amendment is a big boy. Okay? So like I said with the 5th Amendment, the 14th Amendment also has its own version of the Due Process Clause, which is basically the same thing. No one shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of government. But the thing that makes the 14th Amendment unique is it talks about citizenship. So its functional purpose was to let African Americans who were recently freed in the 13th Amendment have citizenship rights. But it has something called the Equal Protection Clause, which has been used in so many court cases, especially civil rights court cases. The Equal Protection Clause, basically everyone is equally protected underneath the law. For example, if there is a crime, the punishment can't be 5 years for white people and 10 years for black people. That's not a thing. That would be very illegal due to the 14th Amendment. So that's basically the 14th Amendment. And the 15th Amendment, it's like we're getting like all of the civil rights amendments one after the other. 13, 14, now 15. 15th Amendment basically says voting rights can't be denied on the basis of race. Yeah, just race, I think. Yeah, just race. Women are still not allowed to vote as of the 15th Amendment. But African American men are now allowed to vote. Kinda cool. So, what is the 16th Amendment? 16th Amendment. Oh, that is one I do need to know. Okay, I had to look that one up. The 16th Amendment is something that I love. Income tax. Income tax is... It basically creates income tax. Blah, blah, blah. Congress is allowed to levy an income tax. Cool. So that's what the, I don't really know why they needed an amendment for that. In Article 1 of the Constitution, Congress explicitly has the power to levy taxes. I don't know why they needed an amendment to clarify that further, but yeah, the 16th Amendment, Congress can levy an income tax. Cool. 17th Amendment is direct election of senators. So to talk about the 17th Amendment, we first have to talk about before the 17th Amendment. You Moon Man. I am not Moon Man, I am Deer Man. Okay, to talk about the 17th Amendment, we have to talk about before the 17th Amendment. So, under the original Constitution, House of Representative members were elected by the people, and senators were elected by the state government. So, basically, there's like two types of elections. You can vote for your state government, and you can vote for the national government, okay? So, for your state government, you'd vote for your governor or, like, the North Carolina House of Representatives, which is very different and separate from the actual House of Representatives. But every state has its own House, every state has its own Senate, and every state has its own Supreme Court, which are all different from the national Supreme Court, House, and Senate. But basically, how national senators were chosen back before the 17th Amendment is that the state government people chose them. So, for example, the people in the North Carolina House of Representatives would elect the two North Carolina senators, essentially. But the 17th Amendment does away with that, and it has the senators elected by the people. So, basically, senators are elected basically in the same way that House members are elected by the people. Okay? That's what the 17th Amendment does. Direct election of senators. Pretty easy to understand, in my opinion. I'm gonna go home now because it's coming midnight. Now, what does the 18th Amendment do? That's something that I don't know, that I should know. I don't know many of these. I'm only 1.56% American. Did you take like a DNA test or something? That's very oddly specific. Okay, so what is 18th Amendment? Okay, the 18th Amendment. Oh, I should know that. That is one I definitely should know. That's a pretty, well, not popular, but an infamous amendment. Prohibited the manufacture, sale, and consumption of alcoholic beverages. Cool. Yeah, so 18th Amendment says no more alcohol. Now, you may be thinking, what? I'm pretty sure we can drink alcohol in America. Well, stay tuned. But as of the 18th Amendment, we cannot drink alcohol, sell alcohol, or manufacture alcohol. Feast of the Winter Star. My secret friend is Lewis. Don't tell it. Wait. Wait a second. Wait, okay. Mayor Lewis wrote this letter. My secret friend is Mayor Lewis. Wait, what? It's not a secret. He knows. He wrote the letter, and he tells me himself that he's the secret person. That makes no sense. It's not a secret. Now he knows. That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. Okay. Logical exceptions aside, the 18th Amendment bans the alcohol, basically. The 19th Amendment is women's right to vote. So, the 15th Amendment, African-American men were allowed to vote. Now, 19th Amendment, women are included. Okay, so women can now vote. Awesome. Oh, my iron and diamonds are ready. Might be able to make some more beehives. But yeah, women can now vote, 19th Amendment. The 20th Amendment. I don't know. I should know. Okay, 20th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Yes. Moved the beginning and ending terms of the president and vice president from March 4th to January 20, and Congress from March 4th to January 3rd. Okay? So, essentially, before the 20th Amendment, the Constitution, or not the Constitution, but the president and Congress would start new terms on March 4th. Okay? But now, as of the 20th Amendment, oh, I should get that back. As of the 20th Amendment, President starts on January 20th, and Congress starts on January 3rd, a new term. Cool. The 21st Amendment. Remember how I said alcohol was banned? Well, hey, now alcohol is unbanned as of the 21st Amendment to the United States Constitution. And that's actually a really good example of how an amendment can be overturned. And amendments are really hard to overturn. They are proposed by 2/3 of the House, confirmed by 2/3 of the Senate, and ratified by 3/4 of the states. So, you have to, the United States has to be really in agreement with itself to have an amendment come into law. They have to really agree. A lot of people have to agree. More than just a majority. 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate, 3/4 of all the states. Which means it's really hard to make an amendment, and only the best of the best actually become amendments. Okay? But the reason, the prestige of being an amendment is that it's super hard to overturn. A Supreme Court case can't overturn an amendment. A law can't overturn an amendment. Amendments are the Constitution, okay? And the only way to overturn an amendment is by making another amendment. So, an example of this is what I just talked about. 18th Amendment banned alcohol. 21st Amendment unbanned alcohol. Pretty simple. And a good example of how an amendment can be overturned. That is, in fact, the only way that an amendment can be overturned. Kind of cool. In Alaska, you can't get drunk at a bar. That's interesting. What's the point of going to a bar then? Well, you can. You can. As of the 18th Amendment, all bars shut down because they were illegal. But then the 21st Amendment, they were all opened back up again. But, yeah. Essentially, that's the 21st. The 22nd Amendment was called the President Roosevelt Amendment. It's kind of funny, actually. So, if you don't know, President Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, served 3 terms as president, and he was going to serve a 4th term, but he only got to serve, 1 year of it, and then he died. So he was elected to 4 terms, okay? And essentially, that is 16 years as the president of the United States. Holy shebang, that's a lot of years as president. So you can imagine people got tired of him being the president. And so the 22nd Amendment basically imposed a term limit among the presidents, limiting the amount of presidential terms to 2. Pretty simple. So the president can only serve a maximum of 8 years. They can serve 4 years, and then if they get reelected, they can serve another 4 years. And after that, they are gone for good. Cool. Now, the 23rd Amendment, I think it has to do with Washington, D.C. electors. I'm not 100% sure. 23rd Amendment. Yep, I was right. The 23rd Amendment basically states that... Okay, so we have to... There's more background here, because if I just say the 23rd Amendment without providing background, it's going to be a little confusing. But the 23rd Amendment, the background. Washington, D.C. is a weird place. That's the background. It is not a state. But a lot of people live there. Like 3 million people live in Washington, D.C., and it's not a state. Whereas like 500,000 people live in Wisconsin, and it is a state. And that's not an exaggeration. That's like how many people actually live in Wisconsin. And so that's kind of weird. And before this amendment, Washington, D.C., people living there, because it was not a state, they couldn't vote in the presidential election because, since it wasn't a state, it didn't have any electoral college members. Ooh, that's a pretty big issue, and 3 million people are denied the right to vote because they happen to live in a place that isn't considered a state. So the 23rd Amendment allows the people in Washington, D.C. to vote. It gives them 3 electoral college people. So, yeah, as much as the lowest state. Cool. So, that is that. Washington, D.C. can now vote. Or not Washington, D.C., but the people living in Washington, D.C. can now vote. The 24th Amendment. The 24th Amendment banned poll taxes. So, poll taxes were a thing used that kind of like... They were used... Maybe they had innocent origins. Maybe they were used to deny people the right to vote. It really depends on who you ask. But poll taxes were basically a thing that was like, hey, you can vote, but you have to pay $10 to be able to vote. And the $10 basically paid for, you know, it costs money to set up a voting facility, and it costs money to pay people to count the votes and all that. And so basically you had to pay like a I'm not sure the actual number. It varied based on the state. But let's just say you had to pay a $10 tax to be able to vote. Well, the thing was that a lot of people, like especially minority groups, were on lower income. And lower income people couldn't afford to pay the tax to vote. So they essentially couldn't vote because they couldn't afford to vote. And so they were essentially denied the right to vote because they didn't have enough money. So the 24th Amendment gets rid of poll taxes, and it's now free to vote. Cool. The 25th Amendment, I don't know what that did. We're getting near the end. Washington, D.C. is kind of like the Vatican. 25th Amendment. Oh, I should know that one too. 25th Amendment is presidential succession. It basically clarified what happens after the president dies. So, before the 25th Amendment, basically what happened, if the president dies, the vice president becomes president. If the vice president dies, no one knows. That's kind of a pretty big issue if we don't know what happens. Because that's a very real possibility that the president can die, vice president becomes president, then the vice president dies. That's actually kind of a big issue. Okay? So the 25th Amendment basically further clarifies presidential succession. And there is like a whole list, like it goes down like 30 presidential succession. But the only ones we need to know for government are 4. So president. If the president dies, vice president becomes president. If the vice president dies, then the Speaker of the House of Representatives becomes the president. If the Speaker of the House of Representatives dies, then the President pro tempore of the Senate, which is kind of like the Speaker of the House, but for the Senate, they become president. And it goes down an entire list. Eventually, it goes through all of the cabinet, such as Department of Education, Department of Homeland Security, Veterans Affairs, Transportation, etc. But it basically makes this long list of presidential succession. Cool. The 26th Amendment lowered the voting age. So before the 26th Amendment, you had to be 21 years old to be able to vote legally. Okay? But after the 26th Amendment, it lowers the voting age to 18. So now you can vote if you're 18. Now all adults are given the right to vote. Cool. Not just adults 21 and over. And finally, we've made it to the end of my long rant about the amendments to the United States Constitution. The 27th Amendment. What did it do? It's kind of confusing. Congressional budget changes will only go into effect in the next term, okay? That is what it is. And it's kind of hard to explain, but I'll do my best. Basically, Congress sets its own budget because Congress, in Article 1 of the Constitution, has the power of the purse, which means they are allowed to do anything relating to money. They are allowed to decide how much the federal tax is. They are allowed to set the federal budget. Anything dealing with money, that's Congress's domain. And specifically, all fiscal bills must originate in the House of Representatives. So the House of Representatives is the starting place for everything dealing with money, essentially. But Congress is where money comes from. Or where money regulation comes from. Okay? And see, the thing with that is that it can become corrupt. Okay? It can become corrupt. And the thing about that is that Congress decides how much that Congress is paid. So, for example, let's say I decide how much money I make. Well, I'm just going to make it a crazy amount. Like, if I could decide any amount of money that I'm going to make, I don't know, I'll make $1 million an hour, okay? So, obviously, you can see how that's not good. If Congress sets Congress's budget, nothing prevents them from letting themselves make a ton of money. Okay? So, what this amendment does is it kind of limits their ability to do that. All congressional salary changes go into effect the next term. And what that means is, let's say Congress passes a bill through the House and the Senate and is signed by the president that basically increases the budget of Congress people by 10%. Okay, that's nice, but because of the 27th Amendment, that only goes into effect in the next congressional term. So that means that, yes, the 10% budget increase will happen, but it will only happen, like, 2 years from now, when the next Congress term happens. So, yeah, that's that. That's all 27 amendments to the United States Constitution. Fantastic. Fantastic. According to statistics, Striker viewers make more money. I absolutely agree. Okay. So, now back to what I was doing, Stardew Valley. Nice, simple, copper getting, and actually iron getting too. How am I doing on my iron? 0 iron. I have 20 iron bars, but 0 iron nuggets. Which is fantastic. Hey, Striker, doing sports sucks because I don't get to join a fraternity. I don't even know what that is. What the heck is a fraternity? People always talk about that. And a sorority. Apparently, it's like a college thing. I don't even know. Duckman will follow you everywhere you go. That's right. He is the stalker of all of us. Like, no matter where you are, he's like Santa Claus. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good, for goodness sake. Don't call me Duckman. It's my dark past. Oh. Oh. Okay. What are you now? Nacho. I'm gonna call you Nacho. Because that's what Nacho reminds me of. Nacho. Monsters University. Isn't that like... I haven't seen Monsters University, actually. I've only seen Monsters, Inc. Monsters, Inc. It's a pretty good movie. In my professional opinion. In my very unprofessional opinion. Alright, well, home I go. Nacho cheese. Exactly. That's what notch is. Nacho cheese. Alright, another successful day in Stardew Valley. I'd like to say 2 iron. But, hey, I got a lot of copper ore, which is actually kind of useful. So, I will call that a success regardless. I do not get sent with this name. Okay, well, nacho cheese. According to the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, I have the freedom of speech, which means, even if you don't like it, I can blabber on about whatever I want. As long as it does not create imminent lawless action. Or is slanderous, or libelous. Libelous. There we go. Beautiful. I don't care. Okay. Oh, that's right. You don't live in the United States. Well, I don't know what the Constitution of Israel is like, but. Big butt. Big, I like big butts, and I cannot lie. I can't believe that's a song. That's a weird song. Okay. Let's make some more bee houses. Why don't we? Boom. Oh, 5? What am I? Oh, I need more coal, don't I? Yeah, I need more coal. Really? Okay, I thought I had a lot more coal than I do. Alright. To infinity and your mom. That's a line that Buzz Lightyear actually said in like one of the movies. That's like the most W thing that Buzz Lightyear has ever said. Calling me in a fake name is offensive, and I'll go to court if anyone will call me that. Sorry, nacho cheese. Please don't sue me in the United States. Well, to sue me, first you'd have to go to the United States District Court. And then, if you are unhappy with the ruling, you'd have to appeal that ruling to a United States Appellate Court. And then, if you're unhappy with that ruling, you have to apply for a writ of certiorari. And then, if the Supreme Court accepts via the Rule of 4, if 4 Supreme Court justices accept to have your case heard, then your case goes to the Supreme Court, which is the settled law of the land. Perfect. I love American politics, and that is all governed by Article 3 of the Constitution, which sets up the rules for the Supreme Court. We should fly on my private jet. What a great idea. Private jets are weird. Despite being private, they're not really private. They're still, like, subject to regulations by the Department of Transportation, which is a cabinet agency appointed by the president as part of one of his informal powers. Alright, so what am I gonna do today? I could just search for coal like a normal person or buy it. I'm gonna search for coal, though. Mining is nice. It's kind of mindless, and it allows me to talk about all sorts of United States government and politics. I don't really like the politics part of the class. I like the government part better. Not because I don't like politics. I love politics, but it's because it's kind of confusing. The politics part is kind of confusing. I like the government part better because it's easier to memorize. So then another thing that I'm, like, kind of struggling with, okay, it's all the executive branch. Just blame the executive branch for everything. The executive branch is the source of all my confusion. So we just talked about the formal and informal powers of the president. Well, that was a while ago. We talked about the formal and informal powers of the president, like, how long ago? That was probably, like, 40 minutes ago. Let's see if I still can get them off the top of my head. Formal powers of the president. There are 5. The president can pardon. The president can appoint people. Specifically, okay, let's just go from the top. The president can pardon. The president can appoint judicial people and ambassadors. That's 2. 3, the president can veto. 4, the president is commander-in-chief of the military. And number 5, the president can make treaties. Cool. Those are the 5 formal powers of the president. Now, the 4 informal powers of the president are as follows. Persuasion, executive order, executive agreement, and having a cabinet. Cool. I still got it. Who knew? You can actually learn a lot when you review on live stream. Alright, cool. So now, what we have to talk about are independent regulatory all the executive agencies. There are, I believe, 4 types of executive agencies, each with their own very confusing rules. Fun! There is the cabinet departments, which are the 15 departments that are owned and operated by the President of the United States as part of one of the informal powers. Okay, we already talked about that. The 15 cabinet-level departments. The President can fire them for any reason and hire anyone for any reason. Cool. And they entirely serve the President. They do a little bit of, like, enforcing. They don't really make regulations. They enforce stuff that like, Congress passes. The President tells them what to do, and they do it. Okay? That's what the cabinet part does. The cabinet departments, I should say. Not the cabinet part. Not a part in a play. Okay, so that's the cabinet departments. That's one of the 4, like, executive agencies. There are quite a bit. The next one I know of is an independent executive agency. An independent executive agency is essentially like a cabinet department, but it is not controlled by the president. So, in a cabinet department, the president can hire whoever the president decides and fire whoever the president wants for whatever reason, and they all work for the president. Cool. That is a cabinet department. There are 15 of them. I don't need to sound like a broken record here. But, as opposed to that, an independent executive agency is like a cabinet department. Ooh, I'm gonna get that. Like a cabinet department, but it is independent from the president, which basically means that the president cannot fire anyone. The president can still hire whoever the president wants, but the president cannot fire whoever the president wants. Okay? Because it's independent from the president. Another thing about independent executive agencies is that they don't work for the president, they work for the government, which sounds a little confusing, but it's an important distinction. In a cabinet agency, they basically do what the president wants them to do. In an independent executive agency, they do what all of government wants them to do, including Congress, mainly Congress, and a little bit of influence from the president, but essentially the idea is that it's independent from the president. Cool. So an example of independent executive agency, the best one that I know of is NASA. Okay? The president doesn't really have anything to do with NASA. Like, nothing at all. Hence the name Independent Executive Agency. And they basically do what government wants them to do. So, Congress, like, I don't really know the specifics of this, but Congress probably passed, like, some legislation that said, like, we're gonna go to the moon. That was probably a thing that Congress did. Because Congress does most of the things in government, actually. That's a thing you'll learn in AP government. But anyway, side note aside. That's a weird sentence. Side note aside. Congress probably did something saying, like, we're gonna go to the moon. And Congress used its power of fiscal policy to fund NASA. So that basically created NASA. And it's independent from the president. So the president can't just go firing the head of NASA if he wants. And the NASA serves at the whims of the government, not at the whims of the president. So that's a pretty cool thing. And yeah, that's the best example of an independent executive agency. There's probably more, like the CDC. That is also an independent executive agency. What are some other independent executive agencies? There are the Federal Trade Commission, Environmental Protection Agency. Okay, there are quite a bit of them. Agency, wait, no, I'm looking for examples. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Environmental Protection, CIA. Oh my gosh, how could I forget the CIA and the FBI? Those are those are like two of the biggest independent executive agencies. Welcome back, Jericho Cat. Hope your call from the manager went well. But yes, how could I forget two of like the biggest independent executive agencies? CIA and FBI. And they basically work at the whims of the government. So, FBI is a perfect example of this. FBI is the police force. Well, not entirely. It's the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I think. So they investigate stuff. But basically, essentially, for my explanation, the FBI is the police. So, the police don't work for the president. Because that would be kind of corrupt. And independent executive agencies work for the government. They don't work for the president. So, the police work for the government, not for the president. For example, like the Secret Service officers, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this is real or not, but they swear in the name of the Constitution, not in the name of the president. Because they're part of the FBI, which is an independent executive agency. So the FBI doesn't do what the president wants. The FBI does what the government wants. So let's say the government passes a new law saying, if you eat cheeseburgers, you're going to jail, which is a very illegal law that they would never make. But let's say that they pass that law. Then the independent executive agency, since they work for the government, would have to enforce that and arrest anyone that eats a cheeseburger. Cool. So those are cabinet departments and independent executive agencies. The next one, and these are two that I get confused a lot, but independent executive agency and independent regulatory agency. So the thing with a regulatory, an independent, oh, you're gonna leave? Okay, bye, 11. I guess you don't like getting educated. So independent regulatory agency is like an independent executive agency, except they make regulations. It's kind of in the name. But an independent executive agency, this is a bad explanation. An independent executive agency does stuff. So NASA does space. The FBI does investigations and police. The CIA does intelligence. Okay? The CDC does disease investigations. Okay? So, an independent executive agency does stuff, whereas an independent regulatory agency creates regulations. So, an independent regulatory agency, similar to an independent executive agency, is independent from the president, cannot be hired or fired by the president. Cool. And it does not work for the president, but rather works for the government as a whole. The thing that differs is that an independent regulatory agency makes regulations. So an example of an independent regulatory agency is the Environmental Protection Agency. They make regulations about the environment. So let's say Congress passes a law that says something environment. Well, what the Environmental Protection Agency would do is that if they see anyone that violates the new environmental law that Congress passed, is that they would fine the person. So the independent regulatory agency, would set the amount, how much the fine is worth. They would set the criteria for giving the fine, and they would give fines. That is one example of what an independent regulatory agency could do. But yeah, that's essentially that. They have a specific area of expertise, and they kind of make regulations around that. So yeah, I get those confused a lot. And I believe there's one more type of executive agency. One more type of executive agency. Types of executive... My phone's about to die. Agencies. Types of executive agencies. That's not what I'm looking for. It's not what I'm looking for. It's giving me examples. Cabinet departments. Oh, yes. So cabinet departments, we already talked about. Independent regulatory agency. Independent executive agency, and the fourth and final one are government corporations, which sounds really weird, but a government corporation is basically It's really similar. All these guys are really similar to each other, which makes them really easy to confuse. But a government corporation is something like the USPS, which is the United States Postal Service. And it's basically like a company. Okay, hence the name corporation, but it's owned by the government. That's the simplest way to explain it. A company, but instead of being owned by a billionaire, it's owned by the United States government, like the United States Postal Service. There's probably better examples out there than the United States Postal Service, but examples of government corporations. Let's take a look. Tennessee Valley Authority, which I've never heard of. United States Postal Service. There are not a lot of good examples. Banks. All banks are government corporations. That's a good thing. Not necessarily a good or bad thing, but that is a good example, I should say. Because banks, they make profit off of interest. The United States Postal Service probably makes profit. But yeah, it's a government corporation because it's like a corporation, but it makes money. No, it's like a corporation, but it's owned by the government. Cool. Those are the 4 types of executive agencies, and they're very similar. Yeah, very, very similar. But I guess the broadest definition, or I guess the TLDR, the bite-sized diet condensed for government or executive agencies. I'm getting my tongue tied. 4 types of executive agencies. There's the cabinet department, which are an informal power of the president, and they work for the president. They can be hired and fired by the president, and there are 15 of them. And yeah, they do stuff. And then there is an independent executive agency, which is basically the same thing as a cabinet department, except they work for the government instead of the president, and they can't be hired and fired by the president. Hey, we got a slime. Nice. We're starting to build a slime family. And then there's an independent regulatory agency, which is like an independent executive agency, except it makes regulations about stuff, can issue fines, can determine what constitutes a fine and how much a fine is worth, and likely a bunch of other stuff too. And finally, a government corporation, which is basically a corporation dealing with making money and making profit and sometimes selling things, and it's like a corporation, except the government owns it. Cool. Very cool. So how do I feed the slimes? That's something I don't know how to do. But anyway. Anyway. That's that. Essentially. Those are the 4 executive agencies. And now, after talking to your ear off for now 2 hours about the United States government, particularly the executive branch and the amendments, I am going to finish up my bee houses, and then I'm gonna sign off for today. But yes, talking your ear off. And hey, get prepared for more of me talking your ear off about the government, because I'll be doing the same thing on Friday and the same thing on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm not gonna stream, because on Sunday, I'll just be reviewing all day long. But yeah, AP exams are super important. More important than a normal exam. Way more important. But yeah. And hey, as a side effect, you guys also get more educated. Who doesn't like getting educated? Okay, so how many more bee houses do I need? 3. 3 more bee houses, which means I need more coal. I don't have coal. Which, I guess that means I'll have to go get some coal. Let's get some coal. Off to Clint. In his shop. Bro really did be out here talking about politics. Thanks for ignoring. I really do appreciate it. Hey, I'm not trying to ignore you. It's just, I get a lot of messages, and also my phone's about to die. But I can't, like, read every message. I get a lot. But I try my hardest. So, please be understanding of that. But, Clint's shop, something I will not be understanding of is that Clint's shop opens at 9 a.m. which is in 20 minutes. Why can't he just always be open? Why can't he maximize his profits? Come on, Clint. Okay, now we wait. Now we wait. And now we don't wait, because he's open. And I'm just gonna buy coal. Oh, it's very overpriced. Okay, so it's 8 for 1 beehive, so I'm gonna need... So that's 16. I'm gonna need 8 more. Jeez, this thing is stupid expensive, dude. Oh, I bought way too much. Oops. Oh, well. Here, have my emeralds and diamonds. I could care less about them. What a scam. Okay. 33 coal ore. I am not happy with my purchase. Alright, back to the bus stop. And back to home. The final bee houses. We didn't really do a whole lot. This is a running theme in the Stardew Valley series. Whatever I say I'm gonna do in my stream, I don't do. That's kind of like the running joke of the Stardew Valley series. Okay, there we go. The 3 bee houses. Because I titled this stream about the incubator, and I mined the entire stream and talked about government. We did get 2, a female slime and a male slime, and bee houses are done. I wouldn't mind getting, like, a nice little pathway, like a gravel pathway. Let's make some, I can't decide if I'd rather have gravel path or cobblestone path. I'll make 100 cobblestone path and see if I like it. Oh, I do like it. I do like this. But do I like it more than I like a gravel path? That's the million-dollar question. Would I prefer a gravel path? Oh, wait, it's literally just gravel. That's literally all it is. Oh, I could do the same thing by hoeing a ground. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take all that away. I prefer the cobblestone path. Much prefer. Okay, we're gonna take away all the gravel path. Bye-bye. Hello, cobblestone. There we go. This looks really nice. Beautiful. All cobblestone up. We got the beehives looking nice and posh. We'll get the horse area. And then, should I surround this with cobblestone? I'm not. So should this... I can't decide if I like the gravel path or if I like the cobblestone path. I think I'm going to do cobblestone. It looks a little bit more grand. Just... Oh, there goes the street lamp. Put the street lamp back, please. Okay. There we go. It just looks a little bit more posh. I don't even know what the word posh means. I think it means fancy. But I don't know for sure. Alright, this is nice. And then one thing I wanted to do... is have cobblestone path here instead of a... Yeah, this looks good. Cobblestone path here instead of a stone floor. I think it looks better here for the little entrances. I think it looks pretty nice. And maybe you would agree. Cool. Alright. And I like how the edges are like... a different design. Like, there's only, like, 4 little rocks there, whereas the center are, like, 6 rocks. Pretty cool, in my opinion. Pretty cool. Oh, and I can put stuff over that, but it looks really weird because it blends in. Yeah, that looks awful. Okay. Hey, but that's that. Cool. And I will do the same for my house. Put some cobblestone paths here. Oh, I hear you, Striker Jr. I hear you. And then, probably gonna cobblestone path that guy up, too. Cool, this is looking really good. I'm liking this. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. Cool, well that is all for the stream today. We did a ton of mining, got all the bee houses done, which I'm very happy about. Bee houses were amazing. I'm gonna go do some organization really quick and sign off for the day. Very good stream, very productive. Bye-bye wood. Bye-bye everything. I love this add to existing stacks button. Oh, my phone just died. That's kind of funny. Well, good thing that I happen to be in a good stopping point. Good on me. Oh, go back there, largemouth bass. Alright. I know this is the food chest, but I'm running out of options. I'm putting the path in the food chest. I mean, hey, if you try hard enough, you might be able to eat gravel. Not gonna put it past you. Alright, finally, crystal fruit can go in here. Rice shoot can go in here. And I'm going to put my watering can away in my farm tools chest. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes another successful Stardew Valley livestream. So, hopefully you enjoyed, the enlightening talk about government. I know I did. Oh, no, I lost the heart of Shane. Here, Shane, have a hot pepper. There you go. Am I full? What? Okay. Come on, Shane. Apparently we lost the heart. I guess I've been forgetting to give him his daily hot pepper. Which I'll fix that later. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. And goodbye.